Hello and welcome to episode 28 of the Mark and Me podcast. As always, I'm your host Mark, and joining me on today's episode, you're going to have two guests. That's right, not just the one, but this time you've got two. So it's even better, two for the price of one. And do you know what? You guys out there don't even have to pay for this podcast, so it's even better value for money, and that's money you don't even have to part with. So hey, who can complain at that? I'm really excited to announce that on today's episode, I've got IAMX and Kat Von D, two absolute legends, and it's a huge episode. But before we get on to today's kind of interview and everything else, let's just focus on the last episode and a bit of a thank you to everyone. I was joined by Megan Levy, and for me it was kind of taking a step out of my comfort zone. It wasn't anyone to do with film, music, TV or pop culture. It was a completely different type of interview for me, but the feedback has been phenomenal. I've been reading tweets, emails, Facebook comments. It seems that everyone loved this story and kind of the bond between her and Rex. I think it pulled on a few people's heartstrings, and I think it was quite a deep, serious conversation, but it's something I was very proud to share with you, and the feedback's been great, so thank you all for taking the time to listen to that, and you know, the response has been phenomenal. Today's episode is going to be very different. It's now getting involved in the music industry, and obviously Chris Corner, who is IAMX, has had an amazing career back in the day when he was in Sneaker Pimps, but his most recent project, IAMX, is growing at a huge rate. Most recently, he's been joined on tour by Kat Von D in the UK, and this was a great chance for me to kind of catch up and speak to them both. But also, she's gone on tour to the American dates, and she's been on the most recent album, Alive in New Light, which is a fantastic album which I urge you all to check out. I'm so excited to give you this interview. I'm really excited to read the feedback from you all because it's a huge name, and to have them both join me on an episode is a dream come true. So without further ado, here's my interview with IAMX and the one and only Kat Von D. Okay, so thanks for both joining me today. Chris, my first question for you is, I didn't realise that you're one of us. You grew up in Yorkshire, is that right?
I grew up in Middlesbrough. Not quite as chic as the Yorkshire vibe, but yeah, small town, industrial, dirty, fucked up, working class, that was me.
And Kat, whereabout were you born?
I was actually kind of similar situation, but in Mexico. I was born there in 1982, and it was mainly just because my dad was a missionary doctor, and so we just were growing up in a third world country with absolutely no resources, and my dad was building hospitals and giving like free medical care to people in need, and so it was just poverty doesn't do the scenario justice, but I'm so grateful for that upbringing. When I think back in my life, that was probably some of the happiest years of my life, just the simplicity of it,
What was your biggest influences growing up? What were those first gigs you went to when you thought, wow, this is the music I want, this is what I love?
Yeah, I was a bit of a musical recluse. I liked sort of raves and weird stuff, and basically sort of losing myself in the sort of trance-like state of that culture. I was not really a big band guy. I was exposed to music by my weird uncle who played me things like Japan and David Sylvian and sort of new romantic, the kind of weird new romantic stuff, and so I was not really into rock. I liked odd stuff. My mum played weird 50s music that I think I was really influenced by, the Platters and stuff like and Billie Holiday and things like that really poked my melodic interests. But band-wise, I wasn't really I wasn't like into the Enemy scene and stuff like that. I was quite a recluse, actually.
What about you, Kat?
Well, for me, I think growing up with, I think, parents who weren't Americanized in any way, and definitely more on the conservative side, church-going people. We were brought up with, like, church hymns and stuff like that, which I was not passionate about whatsoever, but I started becoming classically trained in piano playing at the age of 5, and so my first big passion for music was definitely, in the Romantic era, so I love Beethoven, Chopin, Mozart, things like that, and I still play every single day whenever I'm not out of town, of course. and I still love classical music as my number one go-to type of music that I listen to. But it was like, I think at the age of 12 where I discovered punk rock music, and that just changed my entire. It was almost like all the feelings of growing up feeling like didn't belong in any place, not even within my family unit. I felt like that music was something I could relate to, and it gave me a sense of belonging in some ways. And so that really changed my my life, really. And I don't really listen to that stuff anymore. I don't hate it or anything. I still have all the records and stuff, but I think, as we get older, kind of start to progress in musical taste. I feel like it went from punk rock music, which like, power chords, everything, and then it's like I discovered heavy metal, which to me I understood so well because, there's so much classical music structure within heavy metal, so with scales and such, and so I really responded to that, and I don't know, but
I'm getting into heavy metal now. Now is my heavy metal period. It's one of those forms of music that just is so essential for touring. I've found that for someone so sort of reclusive and cynical as I am, it really just brings me out of my own mind and gets me into a state of just pure energy. I'm thankful for that now.
Yeah. One of my favorite times when we were out on the road was getting ready backstage and listening to Judas Priest and to that song Turbo Lover. Like, that's one of my favorite Judas Priest songs of all time. And there is something kind of comical about it and animated, which I love. I can appreciate that too, and I think you can find that in everything from metal to black metal and all that stuff. So I love that shit.
That's the good shit. That's what I like. That's what when I go to a gig, I want to be entertained.
Yeah.
So you guys are obviously touring at the moment. I just missed you guys. You were here in the UK, but obviously I understood that Kat was posting some of your music on Instagram, and it caught your attention, and obviously that's a huge push for you. But then, how did that actually then turn into, hey, do you want to come to the studio and record some music with me?
I just saw that she was active musically, like really engaged musically, and she understood this project, which is quite an indie project, and it's not in the world that she moves in, and she was very vocal about supporting the band and getting the message and understanding the lyrics and the theatre of it, and it was a no-brainer for me to just contact her and be interested. Particularly when I found out she had such a beautiful voice, and I felt that it would really complement my voice, being all weird and high and falsetto, that her smoky, low tones is good contrast.
I was listening to some of it today, and I was just like, fuck, man, like, these sound perfect. Like, sometimes when you have a guest on an album, it feels like, this doesn't quite work, but it feels like it was meant to be. I know it sounds cheesy, but it's true.
Well, thank you, and thank her.
I'm so happy. For me, it was like so important that like especially IAMX fans would respond to like my presence on any aspect of the album as a positive one. I think fans can get very protective and doubtful, whenever it comes to like new collaborations and stuff. So I was in the beginning like not nervous, but just really hoping that it would be well received, and it was. So that makes me really happy.
They fucking love you.
The feedback's been great so far, what I've been reading, because obviously when you then buy a record, you don't think you're then still going to get to see those songs live with you, Kat. You kind of think, oh, it's great, it worked on the record, but how's it going to work live? To then go to the show and see that you're there, whose idea was that?
I mean, I was astonished that she said yes, because I mean, throwing yourself in the deep end like that, just sort of travelling to shows is so much energy, but she's just a bundle of fucking drive, and that was just a massive sort of surprise to me. So I'm just blown away that she did it.
Like, if I'm going to do anything, I'm going to give it 110,000%. I think that like with any project that I pour myself into, whether it's like tattooing or creating music or whatever, it's like I love being creatively involved as much as I possibly can. I think that's why I was such a huge fan of IAMX to begin with, because you can really hear that in the music. This isn't something that's like every sound is accounted for, and it's very intentional. And I think that and I don't want to sound like a nagging old lady, but a lot of music nowadays is so half-assed and just expected, and I think that people are. I know. I can personally vouch that I have a hunger to feel again. I want to feel, and I think music like that makes you feel. So if you're gonna do it, fucking do it right.
So what was it like the first night then? Did you do much rehearsals, or did you just go, fuck, let's just go for the gig and do it?
She's more punk rock than I am when it comes to that. She was just like on stage, I was like, do you need anything? No. Do you want more? No, nothing. She was just like on it, totally accepting of the situation. And I'm sort of flopping around, moaning around, being a whole prima donna about the whole situation. And, that's my role live. But nothing, not a peep. Totally professional, beautiful. Yeah. I mean, it was really a breath of fresh air for us to have a presence around. Touring's a bit of a slog sometimes. It's boring. It's beautiful, but to have that was really injected energy into this tour, actually. So thanks, Kat. You're beautiful.
I didn't feel like it was ever boring. I was like never a dull moment. I loved every moment of it. It was great. Yeah. It was cool.
Kat, were you nervous, truthfully, before you went on stage? Were you shitting yourself, or were you like, let's just do it?
Man, I mean, I just celebrated my 10 years of sobriety, and so, like, prior to the 10 years, I've, like, woken up in my own shit. I've been, like, the most craziest things that you should be embarrassed about, I've already experienced, so I don't think there's anything that would ever, like, scare me anymore. I'm not afraid to eat shit. Like, if I, my friend texted me, he's like, oh, how did it go? Did you trip and fall? Like, I was just like, oh, I kind of wish I did. That would have been even funnier. But no, I'm prepared for whatever. I think that vulnerability or just like acceptance of what it is. I think some people like that about me, where it's like it's okay. I mean, I don't like. I mean, take my picture. I don't really care.
There's like a purity in that kind of entertainment as well. I mean, it's all ridiculous. Live music kind of is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And if you accept that for what it is, you can have so much fun and entertain people better. And I think that's all it's about in the end. And you seem to have really nailed that. I mean, I'm still struggling with that every day, but I think you've got that down to a T. So you're going to have no fucking problems when you go out touring on your own.
Kat, at the moment I believe you've recorded your own solo album, or you're in the process, or is it finished now?
Yeah. I wrote and recorded an album years ago. I mean, I've been saying 3 years for the last 3 years, so it's probably been 6 years now. But I'm a little bit cuckoo. I have like a few loose screws. So, there was a moment where I was like, I'm just going to disappear and just shelve this whole project. And then I decided to stay. And now, the fans have been waiting. And I'm really extremely proud of the album. So, just doing a few remixes and then mastering, and then I'll be able to release it probably at the end of the summer. Hoping for that, and then touring. So yeah, I'm excited about it. I think I think like my hardcore fans know about the fact that I sing, but for the most part, I think people kind of pigeonhole me as like a tattoo artist. I feel like that's like an asterisk on the list of things that I do. Especially considering music was my first passion that I can remember prior to even drawing. So yeah, it's exciting, and again, I think that was like another thing that made me a little bit nervous about being a part of the new IAMX album and the tour and stuff, was because I know that people don't know that like they can sing, and that it's not just a famous person slapping their name on something, and but thankfully I think IAMX fans are so artful minded, which is super cool. I love looking into the crowd and seeing people that I feel like if I ran into them on the street, we would be friends, and I think that's cool.
Yeah, they're very tolerant, very conscientious, understanding people. Even though they're protective of the project, I get it, but they're so hungry for me also to have a fucking life collaborating with people.
Yeah.
So I think it's very exciting for them to experience this.
Yeah, and it's important for them to be able to celebrate. I mean, I'm a fan of music, so I love celebrating, artists and musicians and people that I love. So I think it's an overall positive experience.
So now that the tour's gone really well, are you going to repay the favour, Chris, and go and do some touring with Kat for her album when it comes out?
Well, you know, that's the master plan. That's what I've been thinking about all along, you see. If she wants me, she can have me. I'd love to take a bit of a break from myself, and that's always, I think that's always healthy to immerse yourself in somebody else's concept and message. So yeah, God, that would be great. But you know,
yeah,
let's see if she still likes me by the end of this series.
Oh, I love you more every day, Chris. I feel like I would love to have Chris sing on the record too, and so you know, we'll see what happens. But we've already talked about. You know, I had no idea that he was so talented in the you know, video directing and editing world. You know, I was actually really shocked. I assumed that you know, videos like Happiness or the Gary Newman music video that he did that was just you know, directed and produced by somebody else, and it was all in fact Chris. And so when I saw those videos, I was like, what the fuck? Like, you have to do a music video, like direct a music video for one of my songs. So I'm hoping that, you know, the stars will align and he'll have some time after the tour is done that we could. Yeah,
I would love that, because I think that's, you know, after a long period of doing music and being sort of overwhelmed by my own message, it might be nice to do, I mean, it will be nice to do something technical and to sort of for the pure visual art outside of music. It would be great.
Yeah.
I was watching the video today to Stardust, and I'm not just saying this, it's so well directed, it looks amazing, and my first thought was, this guy should be now moving on to trying to do a short film or an independent film, because you've got a talent.
That's what I said.
Oh, you know, guys, I would fucking love that. The thing is, I'm so shit when it comes to concept. Like, I can sit around for months sort of figuring out, puzzling together visual, interesting things, but when it comes to narrative or storyline, I'm just not very good. It would have to be some kind of collaboration, I guess, with that, with somebody that can actually.
Oh my God,
write.
Chris, I was going to tell you. I totally forgot. I was going to message you the other day that I have an idea for a stalker music video that we can talk about after this podcast.
Wow.
Oh,
this is an exclusive, yeah.
So exciting.
No, because what if it sucks and then you say no, and then all these like listeners are gonna think it's a stupid idea.
That's very sensible. Very sensible.
But yeah, the music video looks good, man, and like I don't want to, you know, piss on you, but the fact is it got pulled. I heard, is that right? It got taken down.
Yeah, it was. It's very frustrating. It's a ridiculous little thing, because when I made the video, I wasn't planning to be controversial or pushing limits with it. It really was just a sort of free, fun, sexy thing of letting people kind of be topless, but they weren't even topless. You know, there were no nipples. Yeah. It wasn't like free the nipple territory. It was, in my opinion, fine. But there were territories that wouldn't accept it, as you know, Russia wouldn't accept it, Turkey wouldn't accept it. So there was sort of more conservative angle that the company said, you know, you've got to do a re-edit. So, you know, I'm blurring out tits, and and you can't even see anything anyway. It was ridiculous. So that was a bit disappointing. It's also disappointing for the fans to see, okay, this is the censored version, and then you release the censored version on Playboy, which is the only channel that would release it, and it's pretty much the same. So everyone's like, well, what the fuck is the whole thing about? It really is ridiculous.
People just suck. They look for something to moan about. They get off on it. They literally sit there and go, oh, this guy's made a good video. It's artistic. It's actually quite creative. And hey, it's original. Let's try and fuck him over.
Yeah, you know, it's the world we're living in. And when you can see all of, oh my God, don't get me started on this. Okay.
But you know, I maybe the silver lining is that it does have people talking about, like, well, hey, what the fuck is the difference? You know, and I think that's always a great, like, agent for change when people start thinking, like, well, wait a minute, like, why are we, like pretty much oppressing women's ability to show a body part that for a male is like not even questioned. It's really, when it's dangerous to sexualize something that's so natural, because it really puts women in the real world in a dangerous situation. I believe that, So I think the silver lining is that people are talking about it, and that's a good thing, hopefully it'll start, relaxing the minds of these fucking boring conservative fucks who have to secretly fuck themselves in the ass instead of being open about it.
Nicely said. Yes.
God, you're so fucking positive. Wow.
I was watching some of your interviews today before this, and this is more positive than I was expecting. There's some questions where it's like, how's the tour going? And you're both like, fucking shit, and this is terrible. And I'm like, okay, this is a lot more positive than I expected.
I know. Considering the music, right?
Exactly, yeah. I must have this is either the right time of the day to do an interview, or you're both, I don't know, there's something going on I don't know about, but you're more positive than I expected.
I'm very high on medication.
Ah, okay. You have to realise, before this call, I was put on this hold music, which was sounding like something from like a pound shop version of the Lion King soundtrack, and I sat through that for about 10 minutes, and I'm in a much better mood after listening to that than I expected, so God knows. You are both very passionate people. Kat, you are one of the best tattooists in the world. You've gone out there and you've proved yourself as a musician. You've done makeup range, which my wife is always telling me is the best in the world. What is left for you to do?
By the way, it fucking is.
Yeah, it's the fucking mascara I couldn't find when I went into London, and I'm like, I got a list of what to buy, and it's not an easy thing to find when you're a guy. But you seem to... Is there anything in the world that you still want to kind of grasp? I know you're going to release an album and tour and be successful, but is there something... What else is there that you want to get your teeth stuck into?
Oh my God, there's a million things, and I think that, I've always said this before, that I think that I have a million things that I want to do before I die, and I think that will probably be my biggest curse, is accepting that I won't be able to do all of them before, but at least I'll die trying. And I think that, when I look at someone like Salvador Dali, who of course was known for his paintings, but he has, I have all of his poetry books, I have his cookbook, he designed architecture, furniture, jewelry, and philosophy, and to me, I always felt like that's such a good example of like what our minds should be, like, not limited as a one-trick trump, and I think, like, people, like, I remember when I first started talking about writing music, people were like, stick to tattooing, and it's like, well, fuck you, man, how about, like, don't put down the fact that I'm free and living consciously while you sit in a cubicle in a job that you hate, because that's what you've been programmed to think. I think that we should lead by example and pretty much show people that, like, you can do anything you want. I mean, it takes a lot of fucking work, and might mean that you can't watch Game of Thrones sometimes because you're too busy making stuff. But that's there's a fulfillment that I've received from all the things that I'm able to do because of it. But to answer your question, I mean, I'm extremely passionate about gardening. It sounds silly, but I have like a black flower garden. I have like over 30 different species of black plants and flowers, and really like learning about soil and just nerdy gardening shit, and make music. I write books. I'd love to like work more on like the philosophical side of writing instead of just storytelling, I guess. And I have like a shoe line that I'm working on, but my main drive in life really is just my animal activism. So it's like in whatever form it comes in, and like some people think, oh, she has a makeup line, and it's like, yeah, that's just like the vessel to carry the message that we should purchase cruelty-free products instead of ones that test on animals, and
yeah.
So I think that's a neat way. I think the only medium that I haven't figured out to carry that message is music, just because it's a hard one to write about, it's like it would have to be too abstract or something, but that'll be a goal, one day, to write an epic song that means something more than just fucking my collection of pathetic love songs that I've written.
Dude, you're unstoppable.
I've got this like feeling that you'll be like 85 years old on your deathbed, and you'll still be trying to fucking write a metal album with a studio there, and
yeah.
You're just,
oh, dude, yeah.
You're never ever gonna stop.
Yeah, I mean, I think like creativity is a lifeline for me. I think that I used to use it in an unhealthy way as a form of like being antisocial. Like I'm constantly drawing, and it used to be kind of a self-defense mechanism to not have to talk to people. And now I just, instead of using it as something to, or as not a distraction, but as a consolation prize for being human or something. Now it's like I can just use it to make me happy, like just for the joy of like the sake of creating, and I think that's exciting.
What about you, Chris? Would you like to get back into more of a band again and do things as a group, or do you like doing it yourself and having the full kind of creative control?
Yeah, I think I accepted a long time ago that I'm just a control freak and too awkward and too sort of demanding with my own privacy and intimacy, and I like to make mistakes in private. I'm very self-conscious. I'm an introvert that basically an introvert that needs to be an extrovert to get love and acceptance from the world, of course, going on stage. But I think what the one thing that I've found I'm more and more passionate about is psychology, and doing the records, making these weird sort of self-analytical records over the years has just made me more and more interested in the way people work and the way I work, and things like, to get a bit serious, but, depression, clinical depression, anxiety, psychological issues, and all of that stuff is fascinating to me, and I feel like I could maybe take a more of a sort of responsible role in that at some point. I thought about going back to university and studying psychology, maybe getting into therapy side of things, because when I was sick, I really appreciated how that world changed me, and how the reality of sort of science, of pure psychology and science helped me through something that I thought was totally emotional, and that there was my own sort of broken soul, but put into a medical sense, it totally changed me. So I can see that there's something as a technical person, which I am as well, and I've always been very interested in science. It's something that I could throw myself into and maybe help others in a different way that's not so... sometimes the music feels very egocentric. It kind of is. I know you get a chance to help people. Art helps people, but it sometimes feels more tangible that maybe psychology could be something as an alternative to that, or complementary.
That's very honest, and it's giving back, isn't it? And kind of help. I mean, I'm 36 now, and I think it's so weird, but you grow up, and for some reason, like after sort of 25, you just think, fucking hell, like I got to stop taking stuff for granted in this world. Like I'm an adult now, and I kind of need to look at the bigger picture. And I don't know what it is, but at this age now, I don't know if you agree, Kat, but I'm stopping at everything and looking and analysing everything and every decision and looking into it and just thinking, when I was a kid, I just let my parents do everything for me. Now I'm like at that age where I need to kind of really kind of just take responsibility and not be scared to put my hand up and ask for help. And it's not even a pride thing. It's just being yourself now.
I think that's why I appreciate the psychology, like, or Chris's like interest in it, because it's like, depression or whatever mental illness that you're dealing with. Like sometimes that never goes away, but if you can understand it, like you can function better and cope with it. Whereas like for me, I know prior to having this understanding of what depression was, depression consumed and paralyzed me and was completely self-destructive, and it doesn't mean that I don't feel anymore. I'm not. I mean, I know this whole interview probably sounds all positive and happy, but like, I'm probably the darkest person on this phone call. But I think I'm no longer negative, because there's an understanding of what it is, and I think that it's a beautiful thing to grow up and like you said, instead of just expecting your parents to sort it out for you, you can kind of like question it yourself and take accountability, or see your part in things, and then deal with it, because it's as scary as it sounds, like it's so fucking liberating on the other side, I mean, I think.
Oh, totally. So, I mean, that is the enlightenment moment, isn't it? When when you get to the point that you are totally responsible for your own life. You know, it's scary.
Yeah.
You're full of fear, but once you release that,
I think it's freeing. Yeah.
Totally. It's all. What's the word? It's all up from there. It's
Yeah.
You know, you described how you're in a very self-analytical time in your life, and I think, you know, all I can say is that it's going to get better, and it will get better.
Yeah.
We've turned this podcast into like a counselling session for each other. But it's all looking It's all looking positive. It sounds like, even though we're saying we're the darkest person on the call and stuff, our lives are panning out in a good way. I mean, Kat, you've just got married and you've got the coolest cats, and I don't know how Chris even pulled you away from that part of your life right now, because, you know, I don't know how you've just got married and he's taken you away from your husband. It's just, you must have something powerful, Chris.
Well, I mean, I think luckily, I think my husband understands my need to create, and is supportive in that sense. And I don't think that's something I've ever actually had. You know, prior to this relationship, I've always had extremely dysfunctional, almost like strange, weird competitiveness. You know, where your partner, I don't know, my successes would magnify their insecurities or something. Whereas I don't think that should be that way. You know, I think you should be I don't know, I like surrounding myself with people that are better than me at everything, you know, because I think I want to be around that frequency and admire, because I want to be better myself, you know. So I don't have a problem with understanding where I stand, you know, or you know, it's not a. I think in general, I mean, you can see it in social media, people love to cut you down to make themselves feel a little bit better about their existence when it's so not necessary, you know. So anyways, our point being is that going on the road, yeah, it was hard, and we're pretty kind of clingy to each other, which is nice because I like that. But yeah, I think in the future we'll travel together, so it'll be fine. But yeah, the cats, oh my God, it's so hard to wake up without those motherfuckers. Yeah, you miss him too.
Yeah, he's a fucking star.
The way you describe social media, it's it's the best thing in the world, but it's also the worst. I've never seen anyone on Instagram put a picture of themselves up looking down in the dumps or crying, because it's all about glorifying your life. You'll always take the photo of you being at your happiest or with your favourite meal or at a gig, and it's a bit of a false representation for the normal public when they see these great pictures of these celebrities having the best time of their life. It's also the best thing because you guys wouldn't have met and had this whole music kind of career because of it. It's I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. I try and take myself away from it sometimes, but I'm always eager to check again.
I think that's all you can do. I mean, it is way too powerful. You know, this is part of humanity now, and you're not going to control that. But you can definitely control your reactions to it and how you use it. And, you know, I think just to analyze it, I gave up analyzing it. I don't use it very much. I use it for a bit of business and obviously to connect with people like Kat. But it can be incredibly toxic and incredibly liberating and distracting and everything at the same time. So I think just the overload is what we have to be careful about, and just dip into it when you need it and forget it when you don't.
But I could go down a rabbit hole, so I'm so strict with myself and the social media stuff, because I am quite active on there, and I do like the ability to communicate with fans, especially directly. I think that's really neat and cool. But at the same time, I feel you know, social media has really given this idea that everyone's opinions count, and I honestly don't believe that. You know, I don't you know, if I post a photo of a tattoo that I've done, if you're not Caravaggio, I don't give a fuck what you think. You know, good or bad. You know, I think it's you know, but I'll get so much criticism. You know, how this is not good enough for somebody. You know, and it's so I think it's for me, I'll post something and I give myself 10 minutes to respond to a few fans and stuff, and then I put my phone down, because if not, you can really. I mean, and there's been times where I get sucked in when someone says a shitty comment, and I'll try to kill them with kindness, you know, kind of.
Yeah.
Make them feel bad about being dicked, but
structure is the key, right? I mean, you obviously found a good way with the structure, and think that is to set rules. That's the only way you can deal with that, right?
Yeah, I mean, I get really like alarmed when I'm traveling, especially you're on the plane or at the airport, and you just see these zombies just or pedestrians walking across the street on their phone, and I'm like, man, like not only are you putting yourself in danger, but others as well. It's like this kind of unconscious living, So I'm a big fan of like putting my fucking phone away. I mean, I think there are really great times to be able to document beautiful moments. Like on this tour, I think I regret not taking more photos and videos because, like I'll bring up Janine's soundcheck, for example. Chris, that's like my favorite part of the tour. It's like, I just want to see Janine's soundcheck because it's so badass, And I'm like, I should have like videotaped more and stuff. But I think on the U.S. leg of the tour, I'm definitely going to take more videos because I think that stuff, when you share it with the public, it inspires them to get off their ass and do something too. It's like I think people should make music and learn how to play instruments and draw by hand or do whatever they want, like express themselves, but like perhaps not live through other people that you've never met on social media. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is it an amazing feeling that the New York shows have sold out twice and now you're adding a third one, which will obviously sell out? Is it the best feeling in the world knowing that when you get to go across the pond, the response, the crowd, the drive and passion is going to be sky high?
It is. It's such a strange fucking lifestyle though, touring, because you go from that to some fuckland toilet in the middle of nowhere with carrying the same kind of amount of energy and expectation and feeling, and you can play to 50 people with the same kind of energy as 1,000 people, and it's so weird. I wouldn't say that it's the most balanced way to live your life, but it's definitely hyperspeed living, and I'm so glad that I have the chance to experience this in my life, because not many people do, and it is a compressed way to experience emotion, and particularly with fans like ours who are so devoted. It just blows your head off sometimes. I mean, I stand there and start crying or something like that, and then laughing, and then go backstage, puke, or I don't know, whatever it takes.
It is mind blowing, and it's so good that you guys have clicked and it's worked, and I can just see it going from strength to strength. For the people that listen to this podcast, a lot of them are creative people that are going to be wanting to one day make a music video, that will one day want to do their first tattoo. What is the best advice you can give to those people that are probably on the edge of thinking, I want to make it, but I don't know what it takes? I know it is obviously hard work, but both of you must have, you are the go-to people for this.
I mean, I'm not a big fan of giving advice, but I think if I had to, I would say that just to, really remember intention, because, if your intention is to get rich and famous, then you're just trying to fill up a bottomless void of a pit that will never happen. But if you're truly creating for art's sake, then you're basically, the idea of success is already achieved the minute you create. And then if people love it, that's icing on the cake. But then, you kind of eliminate these toxic voices, I think, in that sense. And I think that that's important, because there's plenty of people that are famous for being obnoxious or for fucking somebody or whatever the fuck. And that stuff is so fleeting and kind of like meaningless, So I think if you just pay attention to your intention, like what do you want to do, why do you want to do it, and stick to that, And you can get sidetracked along the way, but I think always go back to that,
Nice.
I think
I totally agree. And mine is more of a cocktail of self. Discover your self-worth. You have to be good at something. I think that helps. You have to work really hard. Pride down. Don't have a huge ego. Be good to people. that helps too.
Yeah.
And also, one thing I realised when I started this project was the only fucking unique thing that I can do is me, and that's it. So if you totally embody who you are and are true and honest to your own message, it will be unique. And I think that's the only thing that you can really count on in the end.
I love it.
I love
it. Yeah. Well, that's the perfect end spot, because I don't think we can top that. That's brilliant.
It was a pleasure. Really
Cheers, guys. So there it is. There's my interview with IAMX and Kat Von D. And as you heard, it got quite deep. It became a personal counselling session for myself. And it was one of those things where I was kind of like, do I leave that in or do I take it out? But I want to kind of be very honest with my listeners and be myself. I don't want to kind of cut bits out and make it sound too edited. And it's nice and raw for you to hear the actual conversations that take place. And that's something I think that people really appreciate with the Mark and Me podcast. It isn't this over polished, really, fake 10-minute short interviews. I like giving people the full conversation and kind of context and everything that goes behind it. So I hope you all enjoyed that. And, it was very kind of honest of us all. I couldn't have asked for two better guests. I think IAMX is an incredible talent in the music industry. His writing, his voice, everything about him, he's absolutely phenomenal. And I can see why he's doing so well and the kind of hardcore fans that follow him all over the world. Kat Von D is an absolute legend. Everything she does and puts her mind to, she perfects in the best way. And to see her doing so well with this music collaboration is fantastic. As you heard on the interview, she's going to be having her own album out, and I'm sure that's going to do really, really well. I have so much respect for them both, and I'm so grateful they came on the Mark and Me podcast. And the good news is, I'm going to be getting them both back separately, so me and Chris are going to do an interview and have a special dedicated to him and all of his music background. And Kat Von D is going to come back and have her own episode talking all about her makeup range, the vegan stuff that she does, her gardening, her new album launch, her tattooing, her new recent marriage. Everything is going to be all talked about, so I'm really, really excited about that. They won't be too far away. I don't like to kind of leave too much of a gap after getting a guest in if they want to come back. So expect to get those in the next few months. As always, everyone, the support has been incredible for these episodes. I can't believe we're already on episode 28. Time is flying. You may have seen this week I've just launched a Patreon. This is because right now I need support. I want to get out there. I want to travel. All the time I'm getting opportunities to go off to London and all around the UK to interview new people, to attend press junkets, to go to film premieres, to go to screenings, to go to conventions. And I'll be honest, the podcast doesn't pay. Until now, and we've skipped the end, I've been running it for nearly 4 years and I haven't earned a penny. We actually invest our own money into the podcasts. So at this moment in time, I can't always say yes to all these great offers. So I thought, I will give something back. I'll launch a Patreon. I'll promise people a couple of episodes every month and hope that people invest a bit of time, a bit of money, not even the price of a coffee, to listen to these episodes. And in return, I will give you more and more content. You can get some badges, you can get a mug, you can get stickers, you can get early releases, and I promise you there will be loads and loads of more stuff added to make it as successful for you as it is for me. And at the end of the day, I see how people, invest their time in me, and if you can just invest that little bit of money, it means that I can go a long way and give you more and more content. So it's great for everyone. As always, if you've enjoyed this episode, get on Twitter, get on Facebook, get on Instagram, email me, let me know, because I've got some great guests coming up and the feedback is the reason I do this. To hear that you all enjoy the podcast and that you enjoy everything I do is the biggest pat on the back, and that's why I'm here. I'm doing it for all of you listeners out there. Thanks again to Kat Von D. Thanks again to Chris. It was an amazing interview and I'm so proud, and it's so nice to get it out there for you all. In the meantime, go on markandme.com for all the links, and I'll be back in 2 weeks' time with a brand new guest and a brand new interview. So take care, and I'll speak to you all then.
I've got this funny feeling that I just can't shake. The devil in the wires, the data eating up my brain. There's a flood that's coming up to my bed. Chaos wins and I can't get over it. How do I even learn to play the human way? Smiles without a heart with mechanical mistakes. There's a flood that's coming up to feet, and there's a flood that's coming up to my bed. It's a lose-lose world and I can't stomach it. I wanna turn it all around in a world of fast, eternally recurring. Oh, you put me in a trance, and there's a flood that's coming up to my bed. Love's out there and I can't stomach it. My brain, there's a flood that's coming up